Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Touchline Facts. First and foremost, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, smash all of that. And today we have got a nice little, another one of those wonderful TikToks from our man, Geordie Josh. And we got an Aston Villa fan, two fans clearly rattled, two fans that are, I believe they're definitely, I think Geordie Josh is definitely paid to talk about football. So he should do some level of education when it comes to certain things. But for those of you, just before we get into this, this is not filmed on StreamYard because StreamYard is bugging. I don't know if it's StreamYard, I don't know if it's my internet, I don't know what it is. At the minute it's bugging, so I'm using a completely different thing just to set this up because I wanted to get this video out there. Because I saw these TikToks last night and I was like, I'm going to do another educational video like I did with the Brian and Buemu Lies Exposed video. So we're going to get right into it and talk about what these two TikToks from these two, one Newcastle fan, one Aston Villa fan, Geordie and a Brummie, who are clearly uneducated, a bit rattled by Manchester United, and yeah, all in all, quite hurt. So let's get right into it. Let's hope it works. Hold on, sorry, I completely forgot. Does it have, there you go, sorry. Thank God, I just forgot. I almost played it with no volume. There we go.
Financial fair play is leeching the competitiveness out of this sport after signing Matheus Cunha and potentially Brian and Burmo for a joint fee of £120 million. Man United now want to...
Can I just ask before we get into this, yeah? Before we get really into the video, what's that got to do with financial fair play? What's Man United signing 3 players got to do with financial fair play? What do you mean? In what way is that? In what way does financial fair play... Surely financial fair play would stop us from signing those 3 players. If we couldn't sign them legitimately or without revenue. You know what I'm saying? What's that got to do with anything? But, yeah, let's play the video.
Sign Hugo Ekitike, who's valued at £80 million. This comes after spending £1.5 billion in the last 10 years.
Probably more than that, but sorry to break it to you, we earned 660 million in 23-24. So that's nearly a third, no, that's over a third, I believe, of £1.5 billion spent in the last 10 years with £8 billion worth of owners. No, in fact, I don't even know how much Ineos. So combine Ineos and Glazer's net worth, and then you combine that all with Man United, and the club's worth 6 billion. Yeah, so 1.5 billion in 10 years isn't actually that expensive, mate. But I'm going to carry on playing. Sorry for interrupting. You lot can play the rest of this.
£40 million on managers. Newcastle have spent £10 million in the last...
Newcastle spent £10 million. Yeah, mate, because you don't make money like us. What about that January transfer window when we spent 0 and you spent 100 million? You bought Bruno Guimaraes, didn't you? They bought Bruno Guimaraes for, was it 35 or was it 50 million? They got Trippier on loan, gave him 200 grand a week. Yeah? Who else did they buy? They bought Dan Burn from Brighton. They bought Chris Wood for 30 million to relegate Burnley. Do you remember that? What about that window? We didn't buy anyone that window, by the way. But you spent over nearly 100 million, or probably over 100 million. Especially in overall transfer, you know, expeditions, because you're giving Kieran Trippier 200 grand a week. So you spent over 100 million pretty much in a January transfer window. We spent nothing. What about that window? Conveniently forgets that one, doesn't he? Because that's where you spent all your money. Sorry to break it to you, Geordie Josh. FFP works in a 3-year period. Yeah? In fact, this one term, it works in 4 years. Because the Premier League teams voted for it to carry on for this year as well, which actually affects Manchester United. I don't believe we voted for that, but other Premier League teams voted for that. So the PSR, current term of the PSR FFP rules last for 4 years right now. Let's play the rest.
Last 3 windows. And I'm not just trying to out Manchester United, by the way. This goes for Chelsea.
You are. You're making a point of nothing, basically. Who are you outing? You're trying to out people, but you aren't outing anyone because you're talking nonsense. And I guarantee if I go in his comments, he's getting cooked.
As well. How on earth they continuously sign players, I will never know.
Because PSR and FFP allows them to sign players because they sold their women's team, they sold hotels, they sold Conor Gallagher for 40 million, goes down as 120 million on PSR because if you sell an academy player, it goes down for 3 times the value, which is why who's an academy player Newcastle have sold. If they sell Sean Longstaff for 20 million this summer, let's say Saudi team magically come in for him and buy him for 40 million, that goes out as 120 million on PSR. It's common sense, brother. It's called knowledge. Go and do some research. And obviously Chelsea also sold Kai Havertz for 70 million. They sold Mason Mount for 60 million. These type of deals have allowed them to be able to spend so much. Plus, they were in debt free when Roman Abramovich sold the club, because Roman Abramovich cleared all their debt, including all their transfer debt, which means they owed no money for players like Kepa. They owed no money for players like Jorginho. They had no money for players. I don't know who's another Lukaku probably. He cleared all their transfer debt. He cleared it all before he left. That's the last thing he gave to Chelsea. He cleared all their transfer debt. So they were debt free when they were bought by Clearlake.
Every time I load up Twitter, they've got a new signing. Like, it genuinely gets to a point. Fans of these...
He's not wrong there, though. He's not wrong there. Every time you load up Twitter, fucking, you see some some apparent wonder kid who's born in fucking 2007, Fabrizio Romano, who's got a fucking tweet about it.
Clubs who've not been affected by the restraints of financial fair play are just going to say, well, our revenue streams are better than yours. That's why...
Which is fact. It's true. Our revenue streams are higher than theirs. Our revenue stream, as I said, in 23-24 was of you and Aston Villa combined. Still, we had more. If you combine your revenue with Aston Villa's revenue, we still got more than both of you combined that season.
We can spend more money. Absolutely correct. That's why it's not fair. How is it fair if you were
allowed to listen to this bit.
An absurd amount of money into your club before the...
How is it fair? That's not fair. So us producing more money is not fair. Yeah, it's not fair on the rest. Well, I'll tell you what wouldn't be fair, you stupid fucking idiot. Right? Oh my gosh, I can't believe he actually said that it's not fair. He's such an idiot. I tell you what wouldn't be fair, right? How is it fair that you could inject a massive load of cash into your football club before the rules? That's why they made the rules, mate, because they realised that wasn't fair. Manchester City got owners. Roman Abramovich came in and he was richer than everyone else. What did he start doing? He just started handing out fucking millions and millions and millions and millions and millions. Now, factor in the generational wealth, because the world has got richer. The average person's got richer. Billionaires have got billionaires. Cash has become more and more and more. Newcastle's owners are worth, I believe, I could be wrong, they are worth more than every single other Premier League owner in the entire league. So imagine if, those rules didn't exist. Yeah, because they want to say it's unfair. If those rules didn't exist, right, Newcastle would they would be able to. It would be I can't even get words out to how much they would be able to spend. They would be able to spend $1 billion a transfer window and not have a single dent in their armour, because that's how rich their owners are. That's why it is fair. Because if Newcastle was to do that, the Premier League would be a fucked league. It'd be fucked. In fact, football would be fucked. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Look at Saudi League. Saudi League has no FFP PSR rules. Zero. No FFP or PSR rules. Yeah? So you're seeing players get stupid fucking contracts for 800,000 a week and 1.5 million. Bruno Fernandes is getting paid like 1.5 million a week when they want him. Ronaldo's getting paid 200 million a season. Yeah? You couldn't do that in the Premier League. You couldn't. One, their owners are not rich enough other than Newcastle's, and maybe you could argue Man City's. And two, PSR, because it was about revenue. And that's a fair way to do it. Let's be honest. And I used to be someone that was against PSR. But low-key, the more I see it, I'm like... I don't get me wrong, the rules could definitely be adjusted. Let's not pretend it couldn't. However, and I stand on with another point before I go on to it about the Glazers. I don't agree with how Newcastle or Man City's owners in this example can't pump £2 billion into Man City, but Man United's owners can take £2 billion out of Manchester United and not get done for anything. That for me, I don't understand. I believe that needs to be adjusted. However, for you to sit there and say that it's not fair. It's not fair. You're only saying this, mate, because you've got new owners. Yeah, imagine if you said that to Brentford. Do you think Brentford are going, it's not fair? No, it wouldn't be fair, because if everything was just based off that shit, everyone would just, bruv, Leeds owners are Leeds owned by Red Bull, or sponsored by Red Bull. Yeah, imagine if that, and they just started splashing out fucking hundreds of millions every season. Then imagine a team like Brentford, whose owner's worth 30 million, can't fucking spend fuck all because he's not got enough money, and they don't produce enough money, so it's not fair. And then you wouldn't get no Brentfords, you wouldn't get no Bournemouths. Not that some people might not want him in the Premier League. That's a fair opinion. You wouldn't get Brighton what they've done in the last few years because, well, Brighton, to be fair, are owned by a billionaire. But you know what I'm trying to say. Bournemouth and Brentford aren't. That wouldn't be fair. What is fair is that you get you are allowed to spend a bit of your revenue. You're allowed to spend what you generate, what your fans produce, what the sponsorship deals are. That keeps the size of the club. You've got to gradually build it up. Unless, obviously, Sir Geordie Josh, by the way, thinks Man City have cheated. Yeah, you can clearly do it because Man City have done it. Man City clearly done it legitimately. If you Newcastle fans always suck them off. So if Man City have done it legitimately and didn't have to pump in fake sponsors and all that stuff, then you should agree that you can do it. Fucking hell, what the hell was this? Oh.
Rules came into place. Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa are essentially financially sandwiched. It's not fair at.
Maybe Aston Villa shouldn't have spent 90% of their revenue on wages then. Do you get what I'm saying? Because according to you lot are both big clubs. And Newcastle are going to extend their stadium. So that will bring in new revenue. Newcastle are a one-team city. Bearing in mind, by the way, the population of Newcastle, I believe, is like 300,000. Yeah? The population of Manchester is in the millions. Let alone around Manchester. Yeah? And then factor in all the Man United fans from across the country. I'm from London. Yeah? And I know loads of Man United fans from London. Yeah, factor in all that stuff. There's Man United kits all around here, by the way. Kids still wearing Man United kits. This whole thing that Man United are losing a generation of foot. No, people still support Man United. People's kids still support Man United. Do you know what I'm saying? Man United will never lose that source because we're the biggest club in the world. But yeah, let's play the rest of the video and let's get on to thingy because I don't want this video to go on too long.
And as easy as it is to take it out on the Man United or Chelsea fans, it's not their fault whatsoever. It is the out-of-date Premier League rules that do need to change. They're killing the game for all it has left.
So, hold on.
There's got to be rules, no doubt about it. I mean, absolutely, I would rather Newcastle get their success legitimately.
So if there's got to be rules, what are you complaining about then? Real talk, what are you complaining about? There has to be rules because you lot would fucking break the Premier League. And it wouldn't work because they're lucky their owners are in like such an elite part of the world. But imagine someone else who's worth trillions, yeah, comes and buys a football club in the Premier League and just starts handing out billions of pound wages every fucking time to a footballer. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And then Newcastle will be like, oh fucking hell, well they should have put rules in. Do you know what I'm trying to say? They only did this because they got these owners instead of Ashley. If they didn't have Ashley, if they had Ashley said at the thing, they'd agree with FFP. Because I remember True Geordie. Do you remember True Geordie when he used to talk about the way he used to talk about Man City? And he used to complain about Man City spending and stuff like that. And then when Newcastle got it, yeah, he was going, oh, everyone should want Newcastle to compete with Man City, man. Because, you know, we're the only ones that can financially compete. And all that stuff like, you know, Sonna. Yeah, alright, mate. Anyways, let's get back to this last bit. Because I'm not going to play this whole video. Because I don't want this video to go on for like 20 minutes.
On every single front last season, Manchester United looks set to spend 200 million on 3 players to completely revamp their forward line with Hugo Ekitike.
Why is he talking like a Sky Sports journalist? And no, we're not set to complete Hugo Ekitike. We joined the race for him. We made contact for him. We're not set. The same way apparently these lot are in the race for fucking Alejandro Garnacho. Doesn't mean they're going to sign him. They were in the race for Rashford. They went on loan, to be fair. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Doesn't mean you're going to sign him. We're not set to complete a fucking Hugo Ekitike deal. He's like our 4th choice striker that we wanted. What are you waffling about? And why is he speaking like a Sky Sports journalist?
Ekitike being the most recent one linked to Old Trafford with an £80 million move. Obviously, the other 2 are Brian Mbeumo and Cunha, who is already...
It'll be Brian and Mbeumo, and it'll be Cunha, and it'll be Gyökeres. It will not be Hugo Ekitike. But cheers. And by the way, to break it down for you in simple terms, Hugo Ekitike will cost Man United less money in the financial year. Yeah, if we sign him for 100 million, then Gyökeres would in the financial year because Gyökeres has got a release clause, I believe, and Sporting want it paid up in full. Unless we can manage to financially put that deal somewhere else and maybe give him like 30 minutes up front, but it's what it is.
Fine. Now I could sit here and bang on about how much of a disgrace PSR is, but ultimately...
Well, you are. And why are you talking about let's talk PSR, Villa PSR? You're talking about Man United, mate. You ain't talking about Villa.
These are the rules that have been set by the Premier League and voted in by every single Premier League club. And listen, it is what it is. This is...
I wouldn't say every Premier League club. I mean, I'm sure there's some that didn't vote in.
Where we're at, Manchester United will always have an advantage over teams like your Villas, like your Newcastle, because...
Yeah, because we're a bigger club. Pretty simple. And if you want to sit there and be simpleton, yeah, and be like I said about the other guy, right? Fucking Geordie Josh. If you want to be an idiot, right? And you want to sit there and say, we have an advantage over him and it's not fair. Well, remove PSR rules and see how much of an advantage Man City and Newcastle have over you. Because you won't ever catch up to them. You know, they finished, what, 2 points off Newcastle, whatever it was. No, in fact, I think they finished 1 point off Newcastle this season, didn't they? And the only reason they didn't get it was because of... or they finished draw on... I don't know. Something along across those lines. The only reason they didn't get it is because they lost to us at Old Trafford on the last day of the season. Yeah, well, as I say, go and remove PSR rules and you will see how much of an advantage Newcastle have on everyone else, including you.
They have such high revenue streams, and that is the challenge for teams like Villa and Newcastle to bridge that gap by increasing their...
Yeah, if you were a big club, you were in the Championship 6 years ago, bruv. That's why your revenue is nowhere near us, because you're not really the biggest club in England. Pretty fucking simple. You were literally in the Championship 6 years ago. Literally in the Championship. Or was it 7 years ago? 6 or 7 years ago, they were in the Championship, mate. Yeah? Just stop being a fucking idiot. Honestly, it hurts my fucking brain listening to some of these people speak. Like, how can you be that dumb? You were in the Championship. The fact that you're top 6 shows that it's fair. How can you be in the Championship 7 years ago? Yeah, same with Brighton, by the way, who are then and then finish fucking what? 6th in the Premier League, 4th in the Premier League the season before that. Do you know how mad that is? That shows that it works. That shows you can do it. That shows you can build yourself up. That shows you can get yourself into the Champions League. That shows you can help your revenue. That shows you can compete with the big teams. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Leicester City won the Premier League title. 2 seasons before that, they were in the Championship. Let me play this rest of this video anyways.
Capacity of their stadiums, to increasing their revenue in terms of sponsorships, everything, all of that sort of stuff needs to improve to even have a chance of competing with the likes of Manchester United.
Well, no, because you finished above us back-to-back seasons, pal, and you finished 4th and 6th, so you have got a chance of competing. You finished above Chelsea last year, you finished above Spurs and Man United this year. In fact, you finished above Spurs and Man United and Chelsea all last year as well, so you have got a chance of competing. You have competed with Man United and Chelsea, and in fact, you've not just competed with us, you left us in the fucking dirt this season because you finished 6th and we finished 15th. So you have competed. And if you won against us on the last day of the season, you would have got top 4 or top 5. What are you talking about? You're trying to get clicks off Newcastle fans. Yeah, oh, bromance, Brummies and Brummies and Geordies. Brummies and Geordies sitting in a tree. KISSING. No, mate. Yeah, that ain't how it works around here, bruv. Yeah, we're going to mud them all up, bruv. We're going to mud all these idiota. I'll play 10 more seconds because I'm going to wrap up. I do not want this to go on for that long, and it has gone on for way longer than I expected it to go on for.
Chelsea, etc., etc. One thing I cannot get on board with is Manchester United are in an awful amount of debt.
Do you even know what the debt is? Because if you don't know what the debt is, then shut up. Shut up. Stop listening to what the media are telling you. You don't know what the debt is. We don't have to pay it off. We don't have to pay it off because it's not our fucking debt to pay off. Please do your research. Stop listening to fucking clickbait titles on Daily Mail. Do your own research. We don't have to pay the debt off. It is not our debt to pay off. You idiot. Are they actually so stupid? They're so fucking stupid, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? And these are 2 clubs, well, definitely Newcastle, that sit there and talk about bad ownership when they were under Ashley. Thick as fuck. Honestly, you live in England, for fuck's sake. Education is free. It's paramount.
To the point where they're making redundancies left, right and centre. They're laying off...
Oh, mate. Do you know what? Just shut up about this redundancy bollocks. Again, clickbait titles. Do your own research. We were over bloated in staff. If McDonald's had 15 fucking workers, but it only needed 10, it would sack the other 5, wouldn't it?
Dinner ladies. If they won the Europa League, which they failed against Spurs, the plan was to have a barbecue instead of an open bus parade, which is just...
Yeah, because we won't have a parade for a Europa League because we're Manchester United. We finished 15th. Why would we have a parade? What, do you think we can't afford a parade or something? Are you stupid? Our owners are worth fucking billions. Why would we have a parade If he dares comes out and says they couldn't afford a parade, I will lose my fucking shit.
It's utterly ridiculous for a club the size of Manchester United. And despite...
Yeah! Having a fucking parade would have been as well. Having a parade for a Europa League would have been a disgrace for finishing 15th and winning the Europa League for a club the size of Manchester United. Yeah? Well, I can't even do a fucking Brummie accent. I would never want to do a Brummie accent. You know what I'm saying?
The negativity around Aston Villa's wage structure, this was the club's strategy to have a higher wage structure, to be able to attract better players, to be more competitive, and to be able to...
And it didn't work because you didn't get Champions League. You bottled it. You bottled it, and then if you got Champions League, you probably would have been fine for this year. But you bottled it in the end. That's your own fault. Your own fault. You could have got a point at Old Trafford against Man United, and you would have got Champions League football, and you would have been fine. You would have been fine because you would have got an extra 80 million in revenue. Pretty simple.
To qualify in the European places.
And also, if he wants to talk about competing, they literally got to a Champions League quarter-final and literally beat PSG, the champions of Europe. They literally beat PSG. The only team to beat PSG in the knockout stages was them, I believe. Who did PSG play in the round of 6? Yeah, no, Liverpool beat them as well, actually, to be fair, take that back. But yeah.
It makes the club more attractive for new sponsorship deals, etc., etc., building our revenue.
Anyways, I'm wrapping up. This guy's sitting there waffling. As I say, yeah, it just hurts my brain. It just absolutely hurts my brain. That someone could actually try and say that Man United... He thinks Man United couldn't afford a bus parade. He actually thinks that. But anyways, like and subscribe. Didn't want this video to go that long. Hit the like buttons. I'm out, people. Peace.